Hello everyone! Happy Friday to my fellow virtual assistants and to the aspiring virtual assistants in this group. Today I'm going to talk about the third element that I left off last time, which is how to become a reliable virtual assistant. And the third topic that I would like to talk about is communication. How to communicate in a timely and clear manner. So, why is this important? This is important because as a virtual assistant, your client relies on you to be their eyes and ears in their business. Whether your role is like an executive assistant or a PA, or your role is someone who supports them in their tech setup, or you are someone who manages their online community, or someone who manages their social media, you have to be part of your role is to communicate things in a timely and in a clear manner. Okay, so thank you for joining me. I see someone who's joined. I just don't know who you are. Please say hello so I can greet you. So the first thing is when it comes to timing. Right. So it's important to have regular meetings with your client. If it's like a project does not need a regular update on a daily basis, for example, if you're just building a website for a client or helping them bring their course. Hello, Regina! I'm so happy to see you! Thank you for saying hi. Kumusta? Yan. So we're going to talk about communication today, Regina. The reason why it's important to have regular meetings is because it gives your client like the what do you call this, the assurance that okay, so my VA is going to contact me on this day every week to give me updates on what's happening with our project. So if you're, for example, building a website for them or bringing their face-to-face course online, then they would have like anticipate like, okay, this project is progressing. You will have an opportunity to tell them if there are any issues that you're experiencing, or if there are roadblocks in the project. So these weekly communications will be a chance for you and your client to talk about any issues or come up with solutions so that you can meet your deadline. Yan. So that's one thing you can do it. Make sure, no, if your client does not initiate it, you can be the one to volunteer it. Like tell them, okay, shall we have a regular catch up, right? But if, for example, your role is more, for example, if your project is something that has to be finished in a very short period of time, then maybe that would call for a daily catch up, right? So maybe your client would want to get reports from you on a daily basis. It's very time sensitive, so that's something that you can do as well. So in my case, I've experienced this, both of these like frequencies. As an EA for a client, we would have a daily catch up. Like that's when I would give updates on projects that I'm handling, urgent emails, problems that I'm encountering, things that I need to bring to his attention. Those things I have to do every day and update him about it. My other client naman, we just schedule a catch up every month, and it's just a very very brief, like how do you find your work, how's your family, what are we looking forward to do this month. And so it's very relaxed. So it can also be that you have like a weekly catch up. For example, it's a project that's kind of going to be going on for 6 months, and you just need to update your team on what's happening this week. Are we up to date with what we were supposed to accomplish this week? Do we have any problems? How are we going to address that? What's our plan B? And things like that. So set it up. If your client has no idea about regular communication, be the one to initiate it, because it's going to help them like have peace of mind, like okay, we're progressing with the project we're on track or we're not on track, or we have this problem and we have to deal with it. Okay, so that's one way of communicating with them in terms of timing. The second one is, how do you discuss non-urgent discussions? Like if it's not yet time for your catch up, but it's not an urgent thing, but at the same time it's something that you feel that you need to communicate with your client. How do you do that? Maybe just send them an email when it arises, right? And maybe you can say, okay, can we discuss this on our next catch-up call? That way it's documented that you've brought it up, and you've asked for a time to discuss it, so that in the future, if no action was done on that, you can say, hey, I brought this up to you, here's the email, and we did not talk about it. So on your part, after sending that email, you also follow up during your next catch-up call, like, okay, did you receive this email that I sent you? I think we should discuss it. I don't know if you received it, but I suggested that we talk about it now on our call. So that's on your end, okay? Parang there's you cannot over communicate enough. So that's that. And then the third thing is, how do you communicate urgent issues? Urgent issues, of course, you have to communicate as soon as possible, as soon as you spot it, and you know you've done your quick assessment, like, okay, so I think this is what happened, and you've done your investigation. Like, I would advise against immediately reporting the problem without looking into it first. Like, the way I would do it is I would assess what happened, because chances are my client is going to ask me, how did that happen? So I have to have the answer when I talk to my client about it. But don't dwell too much on it, that you waste, that you let a day pass before you talk to them about an issue. So my suggestion is, when you spot a problem in a project, or there's a wrong information published somewhere, and you think that it's important to bring it up with your client, or there's a conflict in their schedule, it has to be fixed immediately, then time is of the essence. The more you wait on something, the bigger the problem is going to be. Hello, Deo and Reggie, thank you for the heart. So that's that. When it comes to urgent problems, it's tempting to just like, oh, we have this problem, blah, 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 but you haven't really looked into it. So I would advise you against doing that. So take the time, maybe 30 minutes, 1 hour, even if it's just even a couple of hours, just so that you can really understand what happened, to confirm that it really is a problem, what the problem is, why do you think it happened, and what do you think could be the solution. That would be perfect. Like, if you can, at the end of the day, you've analyzed it, and then you have, like, you can have suggestions on how it can be addressed. That would be perfect, right? So those are the things in terms of communicating on a timely manner. The next one is clarity. Why is it important to communicate clearly? Well, to avoid misunderstandings. So maybe this is something that you're not used to, but I found myself, when I became an EA, I found it very important for me to stop and compose my sentence before I speak it, before I say it. Because I have to make sure that the recipient of the message, my client who has 1,000 things in his head and who's probably just came from a stressful meeting before talking to me, can receive it clearly. So what I do is I avoid words that are not important, filler words, and there's nothing wrong with that. Stopping first, and then that's when you talk. You compose it first in your head in a very simple sentence. You don't have to be very good with vocabulary. You can just use short sentences. The important thing is that your message is clear. Chances are your client will still ask you to repeat it. So be prepared to do that. Be prepared to repeat what you said. And also be prepared to rephrase it if need be. Sometimes they can have, like, because of the so many things that's going on in their heads, sometimes they will have a problem processing it, whether they read it on an email or you deliver it to them over a phone or on a video call. So yes, so there is nothing wrong with composing your words first in your head before saying it. And I mean to say, when you're asked a question, don't be tempted. Don't think that you are required to answer right away if you're not ready. So it's okay. It's perfectly okay to wait like 2 to 3 seconds, or just tell them that, okay, hold on. So this is what happened. Pause. And then you go through your sentence slowly and clearly. Right? Because that is better. When you speak slowly and clearly, even if it's an urgent matter, even if there's a big problem, deliver your message slowly and clearly.